Reality TV has become a plague.
My eyes are on fire.
My eyes are on fire.
And I have many different reasons for believing that. Now, before I get into that, like, full disclosure, I'm not someone that shied away from reality TV. I think when the first episode of Big Brother came out, which I believe would have been the early 2000s, and that caused a huge explosion especially in the UK and in Ireland for reality TV. I would be an avid consumer at that time, as anyone in my generation probably would have been, anyone that was millennial, that is. And it was a staple in my household for years, But as I got older, I kind of started not liking it, and I started noticing things that just didn't sit right with me, and I'm going to get into all that as well. But I think the main thing to say as well is, like, I don't judge anyone that still watches these shows, I understand why people do. But one thing I've realised is that, like, we have an epidemic, like, of just, like, non-stop reality TV, and a lot of the content is produced in America, and it's scary. It's scary to see, and there's a lot of stuff that's just fucking wacky. There's a big producer in America who you might know by the name of Ryan Seacrest. Ryan Seacrest has his own production company called Ryan Seacrest Productions. Now, this particular production company, if you go onto their IMDb page, for example, you will see a big, huge list of nothing but pure reality TV. I think there might be one or two movies in there, but pretty much all of it is reality TV. And one show you will notice that stands out from them all is Keeping Up with the Kardashians. Now, I personally think Ryan Seacrest should be in prison for creating that show, for producing that show. I think, like, we're still dealing with the ramifications to this day. To this day, this fucking family just won't piss off. People want to know what's going on in their lives. Why? I don't get it. And then, Bruce turned into Caitlyn, and that became another show. But anyway, that motherfucker created so much of that shit, and it hurts me, and I'm angry over it. It's like, why? But the show I'm going to talk about today is a show that he produced, and it was commissioned by Fox, because Fox will make anything, evidently. And it's one of the weirdest shows I've watched. Like, I've watched a lot of reality TV, My £700 Life, 90 Day Fiance, Big Brother, I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here, Fear Factor. Like, I've watched a lot. But this show is the weirdest show I've come across, and it's why I'm focusing in on it, because I think it's just, there's too much there not to, just to focus on it. And that show was called I Want to Marry Harry. So of course it's no surprise that he produced this particular show. I Want to Marry Harry did not last for more than one season, and there's many reasons as I'll get into why. Now, full disclosure, I actually only watched one episode because I just found it too hard to watch. It was cringy in a lot of ways, it was frustrating in a lot of ways. I just found myself getting angry, and I realised halfway through the episode, because I was actually going to talk about multiple things, I wasn't just going to talk about one show. But this show for me, just like kind of, even just after one episode, it was just like, there's plenty here for me to convince you why reality TV is fucked. So, this show aired in May 2014. It wasn't well received in America. A lot of people didn't like it. And the main reason for that is basically the general premise of the show is that 12 American single girls go to the UK. They're put in this big fancy castle. They're told they're going to be meeting someone that they have to compete for. And the idea is, like, the guy at the end picks the woman who he likes the most and hopes that he'll fall in love with her and she'll fall in love with him, and they also get to split the money at the end. But the weirdest thing about this show, as if that's not weird enough, is
I have to convince them I'm Prince Harry, but the goal is for them to like me for who I am. This is my chance to find a girl who I connect with.
So what they decided to do was, which I think is fucked, is convince the girls that he is Prince Harry, so they all think that he is royalty, when he's not. He's just some random bloke that happens to look like Prince Harry. But he does happen to mention a lot that he's hoping to find love, and it's to me it's insanity, because it's like you're looking to find love under these false pretenses. Finding love in reality TV to me just sounds ridiculous. I mean, Love Island is a big example of that. Also, like, the women do find out at the end that he's not really Prince Harry. Like, that's also the kind of ultimate premise as well, like that the winner will find out, and will these contestants want to be with him when they find out he's not who he says he is. We're introduced to the women, like, throughout the episode. There's Kimberly, and there's, to be honest with you, I can't even remember their names. But they all have the same kind of superficial reasons why they're there. They want to be with someone who loves them, but they also want someone that's rich, that can take care of them. And they're quite excited by the fact that they think this guy is British royalty because they're in the UK, because they're in this big castle. Now, of course, we know as an audience that this isn't true. So as the women are getting kind of acquainted with the place, with each other, we start kind of learning more about Matt.
This is Matt Hicks.
I'm 23 and I'm looking for love.
He's single, poor,
I can't afford a car at the minute, so I'm currently borrowing a friend's bike to cycle to work each day.
But he's good-hearted, and he just so happens to look a lot like the world's most eligible prince. Prince Harry of Wales.
He's just on his quest to find love, blah blah blah, same old shite. And how are we going to convince them that, you know, this is Prince Harry? And he does like they do this kind of montage of him doing different kind of like exercises and like doing quizzes about Harry.
Going to fool the 12 women into believing he's a prince, he must learn to master aristocratic etiquette.
So I've got this table laid out in front of you here. What does all this do? What are all these pieces of cutlery? Tell me.
There's the shot glass.
And the whole time you're watching it, you're just thinking like, this is fucked. Like he's trying to convince these women he's Prince Harry. They also dyed his hair a darker red because his hair didn't really match to the actual Prince Harry. So it's kind of edited in a way that we're supposed to like, they're trying to make us root for him. Like, oh, this guy is going to convince these women, and look how hard he's working, and you know, he doesn't have that much luck with women in his own life. The girls are basically told that there's going to be a masquerade ball, and they're all given these expensive dresses to wear, and then there's this kind of, you know, montage of women getting dressed up, and some women are helping each other, and then it keeps cutting, you know, it's the same old tropes, cuts to the women saying how, oh, I think I'm the most beautiful, you know, I'm going to convince this man, you know, he's the one for me, and they talk about how American guys are all assholes and they just want to have sex with them, blah 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 blah. And again, like, they're not likable people, you know, and I think most people that tend to be on these shows aren't that likable, and I don't think they're necessarily supposed to be. I mean, I think that's the point. But I just couldn't get over how superficial their reasoning was.
My dream guy, he doesn't necessarily have to be tall, but he has to be
Handsome, rich, funny, rich.
They've shown Harry arrive into the castle in a helicopter. There's fake MI6 agents everywhere. Like, this is when the gaslighting really starts to ramp up, and these women are like, who is this man? Like, who is this mystery man? And basically what happens then is that we go to Harry, who basically talking about, you know, oh, I don't know if I can convince these women of my lies.
I've done the training. I know everything I need to know, but there's still a lot of pressure not to let the tiniest detail slip that will lead them into thinking I'm not Prince Harry.
Can I manipulate these women to love me so that when I tell them I'm not who I say I am, then they'll love me either way? It's fucking weird. So after that, what happens is the masquerade ball happens. So they're all wearing masks, they're all dressed up, the girls are getting drunk, they're excited. Matthew comes out, also wearing a mask. He's talking about how nervous he is. And then there's this kind of weird montage where he's like talking to multiple different girls, and you know, the girls, it cuts back to the girls in interview settings where they're talking about the night and how excited they were, and they still didn't know who he was, and he seemed very charming, and they loved his accent. And the thing that amazed me though is like Matthew gets very arrogant about the whole thing. Matthew's just like some of these women are too loud, like Americans are so loud, like, you know, and he starts acting like he's an actual prince that like has options, because at the very beginning he actually says that the women are out of his league, and then all of a sudden he gets a bit cocky under these false pretenses.
Initially, you did catch my eye. I got to have that small chat with you, and that was lovely. But then you were quite loud.
loud.
Or slightly brazen.
Which I just think is hilarious. I you know, I was like, where do you get the gall? After dancing with various women and talking to various women, he has to decide who's going to stay in the crown suite. Like, one person gets to stay in the crown suite and one person has to go home on the first night. So he picks two women, Leah and Rose. They're both sent to separate parts of the building, and then he goes and talks to them both individually, and we learn that he's letting Rose stay in the crown suite, and he's sent Leah home because Leah wasn't having a good enough time for him, which is hilarious to me. Like, his character is already kind of forming into this like arrogant arsehole, and he became very unlikable to me, and I just kept getting annoyed because I was like, this is all under fucking false pretenses. Like, she goes back to let the girls know, and you know, the girls talk about how jealous they are. They don't understand how Rose, like, there's a lot of bitchiness going on.
The way Rose comes into the room tonight, it's just so fake.
Like, one girl's like, I need to learn from her to see.
Rose is not good enough for Prince Harry, but what we're all wondering is, what did she do that others didn't do that made her get chosen?
And it's just like, why are you like this? You know, that's what I keep thinking when I watch this. Why are you like this? That's kind of how the first episode ends. We do at the end of the episode get, you will not believe what happens next.
Come on.
So that was the first episode. I kind of gave a rough kind of thing what happened because, to be honest, like watching the show, there's a bit more to it than that, but it just gets me too angry to talk about. And during the actual episode, I found that I had to keep pausing it because I just was getting so frustrated by it. I hope you enjoyed. I thought instead of talking about crime, I would talk about something a bit more lighthearted, you know? And I might do a deeper dive into different reality TV shows, you know. This was just a kind of intro to it all, to get you all warmed up. Yeah, so thanks for watching, thanks for subscribing, thanks for liking and sharing. And please do like and share if you do like these videos. It is always, as I say, greatly appreciated. I always enjoy making them. And I know crime isn't for everyone, so I will be making other things. And yeah, thanks again for watching. And I will see you in the next one. Goodbye. Goodbye! Woo! Oh yeah, I also realised I never actually told you guys how the show ended, because I know you all want to know. So what happened? Well, the contestant Kimberly Birch, who was a model in the show, she won the show and she found out that he was not a real prince and she didn't want to be with him. Isn't that a shocker? Because once she learned that he wasn't who he said he was, also partly probably because he wasn't actually rich, but also the fact the whole show was a lie, they didn't know. Now, she didn't go empty-handed. They split the $300,000 between them and they went their separate ways. So, was it all worth it? I don't know. You tell me.